Good evening and thank you for joining us. This is News 360 from the News Hub here in Accra. I am Isa Moni.
And I'm Natalie Ford to look at the top stories this evening.
News 360 Headlines is brought to you by...
Shake up in the police service following spate of armed robbery cases in parts of the country.
Meanwhile, a combined police and military team is to be deployed to combat crime in cities.
Also ahead this evening, Ghana Health Service records first death of Lassa fever.
Subsidiary Legislation Committee of Parliament agree that law students be made to write entrance exams as entry requirements.
And in business this evening, enforcement team of Ghana Revenue Authority conducts inspection to ensure compliance on affixing tax stamps on excisable products.
Later in international news, South Africa's crime rate of 77% is much higher than global rate of 49%, according to Global Economic Crime and Fraud Survey.
We've got the details of these stories for you here on News 360. We're streaming all across the world on 3news.com, and you can also watch us on TV3 Ghana. Let's get started with our very first story this evening. The Inspector General of Police has announced 11 major changes in the security hierarchy following an escalation of crime in the country in recent times. The IGP has reassigned his Director of Operations, COP George Dampare, to head the Research Department. A statement issued by ACP David Eklu, the Director of Public Affairs, has announced the Eastern Regional Commander, DCOP Simon Afeku, is the new Director of Operations, while DCOP Christian Tete Yehonu is the new Director of Police Intelligence. The following are the changes made by the police hierarchy.
And now, there is a growing concern among the public about the effectiveness of weapons used by police in fighting crime in the country. In the wake of the daredevil style of armed robbers in the country, a senior police officer has revealed to TV3 how some stations in Accra are operating with one assault rifle to fight crime. Here is a report by Komla Kluche.
Police officers have on several occasions met armed robbers, have tried to fire, and it's not firing. Recently, I think in the north, a group of police officers were faced with that situation. They tried firing the guys, it was not firing. Okay? And these are old stock weapons.
The harrowing experience revealed to TV3 by this disturbed police officer whose voice has been muffled to hide his identity. The policeman on duty at the Royal Motors and Industrial area where the robbers attacked the company and bolted with an unspecified amount of money is alleged to have been unable to prevent the attack because his rifle could not fire. Robbery is reported to have increased in the last 2 months. A total of 89 robberies were recorded in January, 38 more than what was recorded in the same month last year. The attacks on civilians have extended to police officers, some of whom have been killed by armed attackers. Fear has gripped some police officers who have come face to face with these robbers.
In Accra, I wouldn't want to put it on air or mention the name of the station, but only one efficient weapon. And this is a station that is stocked with a lot of men.
You mean that station has one single weapon?
That is efficient. One.
a brazen robbery attack at the North Industrial Area and a raid of Forex Bureau and mobile money vendors on Tuesday have left many in fear.
What has happened? So far, we have arrested 11 people. Policeman could not fire. It depends on several factors. Either he was caught up and he could not quickly react, depending on the professional ability or the instinct of the police officer or the professional skills of the police officer.
The police administration says it is not oblivious of the challenges confronting the personnel. Security analysts have equally raised concerns about how the police armory is handled to meet contemporary crime.
Most of the police stations that were built did not have the armory as a component, the way they were built. It came as an afterthought. So in most places you find that the armory itself is so hot, the ventilation is so poor, and the location leaves much to be desired.
As these concerns arrive, these officers are, however, left to deal with the incessant crime rate, awaiting more support from the central government. Komla Kluche, TV3 News, Accra.
Now, meanwhile, government has resolved to enhance the Operation Calm Life to forestall the increasing spate of armed robbery in the country and ensure a better protection of life and property. Information Minister Mustafa Hamid at a press briefing said effective Thursday there will be heavy military and police presence in major cities nationwide.
According to the Information Minister, an emergency meeting was held between the Vice President and all heads of security agencies following the raid on Royal Motors at the North Industrial Area on Tuesday and the shooting and killing of a Lebanese cashier on Wednesday in Tema to draw up new strategies in addressing the crime situation. A 6-point approach including the surveillance of financial institutions has been adopted. Government has also directed all financial institutions to install CCTV cameras on their premises. The Information Minister urged the public to be vigilant and report suspicious characters in their communities to the law enforcement agencies.
And still on robberies, the increase in cases of armed robberies on mobile money agents in Kumasi has compelled some of them to quit the business. Those who remain in business want the police to scale up their patrols within the communities. Ibrahim Abubakar's reports.
At least 4 mobile money merchants have been attacked and robbed of their sales within the past month in Kumasi. The robbers bolted with over 10,000 cedis from victims. This victim was robbed at gunpoint and lost 6,500 cedis.
He put his bag here and then he told me to pack every money we have in the bag. So I did, because I realized no one was coming to my aid or anything. So I just kept the money in his bag, and then he wanted the credit cards too, so I added the credit cards to it. And then he went to sit on his motorbike. So our boss was inside, and then he came out to tell him that he cannot run away. So he took the gun and then wanted to shoot the boss. But the boss entered and closed the door. And then he sat on the motor, still shooting, and then he left.
The traumatized vendor says the mere sight of a motorbike scares her. She wants the police to intensify patrols to prevent such robberies. Some mobile money agents have already quit the business. A 25-year-old agent at Bomso was attacked 3 weeks ago. The robber shot through the metal container and hit the vendor in the thigh when he refused to hand over his sales. He has quit the business since the incident. An eyewitness who spoke on condition of anonymity claimed 3 police officers who were directing traffic close to the scene of the incident had to run for their lives when the robber fired warning shots. But the police says it is on high alert.
Once we received the reports, we made it clear. We came out with a statement. The statement was one to inform the general public that this is what is happening, and so let all of us be alert, not just the mobile money merchants, but shop owners and operators of those businesses that carries huge sums of money, for us to be alert.
She advised business owners and merchants to be extra careful when sharing information during and after business hours and asked the public to remain calm and report suspects to the police.
Now let's move to health issues and on the outbreak of Lassa fever. The Ghana Health Service has confirmed a case of Lassa fever at the Tema General Hospital. A press release indicated that a 26-year-old man was rushed to the hospital on February 23 but died on February 28. The confirmation followed a test conducted by the Noguchi Memorial Institute in Accra. The Ghana Health Service is urging the public to report any suspected case of the disease. The Ghana Health Service in February issued an alert of the likelihood of outbreak of Lassa fever in the country. The disease is reported to have already affected several countries in the West African sub-region, with over 300 cases and 31 deaths in Nigeria alone. I'm sure there is more on this Lassa fever issue, so let's cross over to Natalie, who is ready on the touch screen to give us more details.
Yes,
Natalie?
Lisa, there certainly is a lot more information. Like you said, the Ghana Health Service warned, in fact, in February of an outbreak of Lassa fever in the country. So I'm going to run us by what exactly Lassa fever is, because it may sound foreign in the ears of many. Now, it's an acute viral hemorrhagic fever illness, which is endemic in West Africa. And as you saw earlier there, it's in fact affected many in the West African sub-region. There are over 300 cases and 31 deaths already. The incubation period is 6 to 21 days. Now, Lassa fever, the signs and symptoms of this fever, which can lead to death. The early symptoms include a fever and general weakness in the body. After a few days, however, there's headache. The person experiences sore throat and muscle pain, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, abdominal pain, and a few other signs. In some severe cases, there's facial swelling and there's fluid in the lung cavity. Bleeding also tends to occur. And late presentation may in fact include shock, convulsion, coma, and multiple organ failure. So like you can see here, it starts with very simple symptoms, which later lead into quite large and dire situations. And so the Ghana Health Service is in fact cautioning and warning the public to check and get that checked early when you see the symptoms. How does the fever spread? Now, Lassa fever is transmitted into humans through contact with urine, saliva, feces, and blood, as well as the blood of rodents. The blood of rodents, which is pretty key here. The disease is endemic, as I said earlier, in rodent population in parts of the West African sub-region. The reservoir for the virus is multi-mammate rat. You see a rat on the image here, and it's in fact transmitted through urine, saliva, feces, and blood of rodents. And so it's clear that it's day-to-day things through which it's transmitted through. And a person-to-person transmission through direct physical contact with body fluids, like that of blood, saliva, stool, vomit, urine, and sweat. And so it's clear here that, in fact, there must be a lot of prevention methods to be taken, and that's why the Ghana Health Service is pretty keen on ensuring that the public knows about this. Now, to round up, can Lassa fever be treated? There is an effective drug for treatment if reported early enough to the health facility center. And how can it be prevented? That's what many of us would want to know. As they say, prevention is better than cure. No human vaccine against Lassa fever. Raising awareness, of course, of the risk factors of the disease and protective measures individuals can take is the only way to reduce human infection and death. And so these are the main points running us through Lassa fever, and the Ghana Health Service has already warned it, has already made a warning of this to the general public, and it's incredibly important that these symptoms, if experienced, are checked upon immediate effect. Let's turn our attention away from health now. As President Akufo-Addo says, Ghana needs to increase trade and investment cooperation with Germany. He said this will further enhance and deepen the excellent relations already existing between the two countries while allowing the economy to have a new lease of life for growth. President Akufo-Addo made this known when he delivered the keynote address at the German-Ghanaian Economic Forum organized by the German Chamber of Commerce at the Konrad Adenauer Foundation in Berlin.
President Akufo-Addo explained that an increase in trade and investment cooperation between the two countries is the only way to put Ghanaian products at the high end of the value chain in the global marketplace, thereby creating jobs for the teeming masses of Ghanaian youth. The president said his government had already implemented measures aimed at attracting both domestic and foreign investment into the country, as well as stimulating growth for the private sector.
We've introduced a monetary policy that is stabilizing the currency and reducing significantly the cost of borrowing, and have initiated a raft of tax cuts that is bringing relief to and encouraging businesses. These interventions have ensured that the fiscal deficit, which stood at 9.6% at the end of 2016, has been reduced to 5.6% at the end of 2017 and is projected to go down to 4.5% in 2018.
President Akufo-Addo indicated Ghanaian industry was undergoing a spectacular revival, a decline in interest rate, a more stable cedi, and overall the macroeconomy is growing stronger. Addressing the challenges of the country's infrastructure deficit, he told the gathering that his government is embarking on addressing the challenges of the country's infrastructure deficit. He told the gathering that his government is embarking on an aggressive public-private partnership program to attract investment in the development of both road and railway infrastructure.
I'm expectant that this forum will help facilitate partnerships between Ghanaian and German companies and create the platform that generates ideas and nurtures them into success. It is my hope that exchanges of this sort will enable the strong relations between Ghana and Germany to deepen further and to grow even stronger.
Still live here on News 360 from the News Hub at Adisawe Kanda. Let's take a look at what's still ahead tonight. Enforcement team of the Ghana Revenue Authority conducts inspection to ensure compliance of affixing tax stamps on excisable products. And on the international front, South Africa's crime rate of 77%, much higher than global rate of 49%. That's according to Global Economic Crime and Fraud Survey.
Alright, so thanks for staying with us on News 360. Time for us to do some business news now. My name is Nanekia Mensah Brampa. And beginning with the famous excise tax stamp, the policy comes into force today, March 1, 2018, after several weeks to give and take between government and stakeholders in the business community. Now, a task force of the Ghana Revenue Authority embarked on an inspection today, and the exercise was to see how far retailers had complied with the law. My Paul Soa accompanied the task force and has this report.
The tax stamp task force first inspected the Oxford Street Mall, where owners of ShopRite stores indicated they were not aware enforcement of the tax stamp begins today. There are tobacco products which fall in the category of products which should have the tax stamp affixed did not. The officials of the Ghana Revenue Authority amongst the task force warned business operators and advised them to ensure they comply with the directive and affix stamp tags on products before they are displayed. Kwabena Apau of the Ghana Revenue Authority and a member of the task force reminded both manufacturers and retailers to ensure they obtain free of charge the tax stamps from the GRA.
Luckily for us, the law has made provisions for all retailers, all importers, all distributors of these products to acquire the stamps and affix them on the products. After the end of the transitional period, it is not going to be the responsibility of the retailer. It is the importer who is bringing in the goods that is going to affix stamps on the products, or the manufacturer who is making the goods at the domestic level.
However, their alcohol products on display had a stamp tax affixed. This the GRA applauded and encouraged them to continue to comply. Officials using a special detector displayed how fake excise tax stamps can be detected.
If you point it to the stamp and it indicates green, it means it's authentic. If it's red, it means it's fake.
The story was similar at the Kuala shop near the Dankwa Circle, where the owners explained they were not aware they could have fixed the stamp tags themselves.
The next time we come and we don't find the stamps on the products, we will not leave them here. Thank you very much.
At the airport Shell station, the owner, Commodore Mensah, had issues with the GRA. He complained the policy of affixing the stamp tags could affect his business negatively.
For the first 6 months of the program, the stamps are for free, and you are not going to pay any additional duties and taxes. We just assume that you have paid all the duties and taxes on the products.
The task force finally called at the Accra Mall Here, the proprietors were warned not to display any product without affixing the excise tax stamp. The chief revenue officer at the GRA deemed the exercise a success and called on shop operators to cooperate with the GRA to ensure the successful implementation of the policy.
ShopRite has actually written to all their suppliers that without the tax stamps, they will not pick their goods. And that they should even come for their product, they should come and stamp products on their shelves. ShopRite, as a retail shop, has the right to apply for the stamps to be put on the products. And they have understood that. And they are taking an inventory, and very soon we will receive an application to that effect.
All right, so meanwhile, the Food and Beverage Association of Ghana have expressed satisfaction with the conduct of a task force of the Ghana Revenue Authority on the first day of implementation of that policy. Now, speaking to the business team, the Executive Secretary, Samuel Ankre, said the members of the association are willing to cooperate with the GRA so far as there were no arrests and seizure of goods.
So far, so good. Over time, what we're going to do is to ensure that the trading community and then the membership itself and the producers gradually get into compliance. If it comes to the bottlers, there are arrangements for them to be able to source the machinery. So until we get there, we will say that the program itself has taken off today and we are rolling it side by side. Others have said that we will not allow this program to roll. But let me say that our position was the modules through which they were going to deploy or enforce the tax stamp was a major source of worry. And as we met with the authorities yesterday, the last minute assurances that came, so we realized that fine, if they are going to go that way, then obviously they will have our full support as a trading community.
Now let's talk about the much anticipated 1 to 3% fuel price reduction. Well, prices remain the same at the pumps despite a 3% anticipated reduction, which was expected to take effect today, March 1.
According to a forecast by the Institute of Energy Security, IES, there should be a drop in fuel prices by 3%. The reduction is expected to reflect between the first pricing window of March from Thursday, March 1 to Thursday, March 15. The projection was based on the reduction of crude oil prices on the international market and the stability of the cedi. However, there was no reduction of prices at the pumps. A litre of petrol is selling at 4 cedis, 51 pesos, whilst a litre of diesel is selling at 4 cedis, 49 pesos. Executive Secretary of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, COPEC, Duncan Amwa, explains the situation.
Only when the window starts, it's relatively slow. Because of competition, you have a number of oil marketing companies playing the wait-and-see card to see what OMCA will do that should influence their pricing. Because definitely there are oil marketing companies which have larger share, that's larger market share as compared to others. So they all play the wait-and-see attitude to see. If they notice that this oil marketing company is doing A, then they also guide them in determining how they are also going to price their products.
Filling station attendants and managers, however, made it clear they have no information on an anticipated reduction.
Well, so we're looking at from tomorrow till weekend to see if that 1 to 3% will take effect at the pumps. But the Ministry of Works and Housing has requested all regional ministers to facilitate the acquisition of parcels of land in the 10 regions for the purpose of constructing quality, affordable housing to bridge the housing deficit gap. Now, the country's housing deficit is estimated to be in excess of 1.7 million units. Ghana's housing shortfall is expected to rise to 2 million by 2020. This implies that the country would have to build approximately 200,000 housing units each year for the next 5 years to bridge the gap. Deputy Minister of Works and Housing, Eugene Boakye-Antwi, noted 5 out of 10 regional ministers have responded to the call to facilitate the acquisition of land banks for housing projects. The land banks will be accessed by both local and foreign estates developers to roll out safe, secured and low-income affordable housing units throughout the country.
It's to make land accessible to would-be investors and to also bring equity into the system. Because we don't see why somebody should bring his money from a foreign bank trying to help you and the person gets entangled in a legal confrontation, legal tussle with the landowners in court for years on end. And that's why we want to acquire the lands. And then when these investors come, we just give them portions of it to develop.
He said the ministry is lobbying for the Social Security and National Insurance Trust, SNIT, to dedicate a percentage of the pension scheme into providing low-income affordable housing for all contributors.
We are still negotiating with the Ministry of Finance and SNIT to agree on the percentage. Because if he said 40 and decided to give us 10, so we don't want to go into numbers here. Let's, hope and pray that in the negotiations between the two ministries will bring, fruitful dividends to our country.
President of the Ghana Real Estate Developers Association, Kwachi Dopoade, pointed out that GREDA would be in a position to bridge the gap with the right business environment.
Automatically, the road have been serviced, the land have been acquired by the government or through the ministry. It makes we the developers work very easy. There will not be any litigation. There will be unity of prices and others. The fact that we are building affordable houses doesn't mean it shouldn't be quality. We have to go by the building code.
A member of GREDA, Eric Ebuakwa, indicted that the cost of housing units could be lower if developers could be reimbursed with cost of providing service lines to their sites.
This government has removed the 5% VAT tax on the real estate. I think it's a decision in the right direction. It has also impacted on our business. But we have to send utility lights, water, road to our site. And these are the things that when we send, we don't charge for it.
All right, so there's more news on our website. It's 3news.com. My name is Nanikia Mensah-Abrampah. I'm handing over back to the duo who are rocking their Ghana wear tonight.
Nanikia, you look lovely too.
I've been nice not to say you are beautiful in this dress.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nanikia Mensah-Abrampah. Now let's move on to some other stories in tonight's edition of News 360. And the Subsidiary Legislative Committee of Parliament has unanimously agreed that law students be made to write entrance exams as an entry requirement. The legislative instrument has been laid by the chairman, Mahama Ayariga, and debate on it is expected on Friday. Meanwhile, Minister of Justice is expected to lay a new bill next week in Parliament to amend Article 32 of the Ghana School of Law Act.
Law students seeking admission into the Ghana School of Law have been protesting against moves by the law school to make them write entrance exams and go through interviews. After a series of meetings with the students, the General Legal Council, the Committee of Subsidiary Legislation, decided that the interview part will be scrapped, but the exams remain.
The law school will proceed to do what the Supreme Court has advised them to do, which is to amend their LI to make provision for examination as a precondition to entry.
Mahama Ayariga argued about 2,000 people holding LLB degrees are seeking admission into the school, but there is limited space for intake.
The MPs who are mobilizing to throw away the LI, they are still free to mobilize. They are free to mobilize. The question is, practically, show me how to solve the problem. Because the law school is saying that the only way to solve the problem of having 2,000 people holding LLB degrees and yet having a space that can take only 500, the only way to solve that problem is to have an entrance exams. You need to engage more lecturers. You need to have a budget for that. You need to expand the physical infrastructure, do construction work.
He explained that the General Legal Council has a problem admitting students.
The General Legal Council say they also have a problem. And their problem is that apart from the Faculty of Law and the faculty at KNUST and the faculty at GIMPA, they don't have they don't regulate what happens in the law schools, law faculties. So there are about 10, 15 other law faculties that they have not accredited. They don't regulate them. They don't know how they prepare their students. And you expect them to just allow those students to come in without they also testing those students.
Mahama Ayariga, however, revealed the Minister of Justice will next week lay a new bill to amend Act 32.
The committee was unanimous. All of us agreed that yes, as a practical approach to resolving the issue, for now they should use an examination as an entry requirement, but they should give us assurance that they will take steps to expand the space for law schooling in Ghana.
The Friday debate will determine if MPs will throw out the LI or the committee's decision will be adopted.
It's still live here on News 360, streaming all across the world on 3news.com. We've got some sports news for you coming up shortly. Stay with us. On the international front tonight, despite the 2 degrees Celsius weather condition, activists and protesters for a democratic state of Catalonia weathered the storm to see their dream and their wish for a breakaway come into reality. My colleague Alfredo Cansi is in Spain and filed the following report.
For a very long time, it's their demand to have Catalonia become a republic on its own. They're asking for democracy for Catalonia. There's been resistance to that. They feel that their leaders have had to go into exile because of this, but they're not giving up. The weather is not good. We're running about 2 degrees now, but these people, some of them are still in there, in those tents you see, and are still continuing with the protest. Some of them also pitch camp there, chanting their own songs there to demand what they have been pushing for a very long time. This is the heart of that particular protest has been going on for quite a while. The king met resistance on Sunday when he came from people who thought that he should only be welcome into Catalonia if he accepts their demand for democracy.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. This is News 360 from the News Hub here in Accra. I am Isa Moni.
And I'm Natalie Ford. To look at the top stories this evening.
News 360 Headlines is brought to you by...
Shake up in the police service following spate of armed robbery cases in parts of the country.
Meanwhile, a combined police and military team is to be deployed to combat crime in cities.
Also ahead this evening, Ghana Health Service records first death of Lassa fever.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. This is News 360 from the News Hub here in Accra. I am Isa Moni.
And I'm Natalie Ford. To look at the top stories this evening.
News 360 Headlines is brought to you by...
Shake up in the police service following spate of armed robbery cases in parts of the country.
Meanwhile, a combined police and military team is to be deployed to combat crime in cities.
Also ahead this evening, Ghana Health Service records first death of Lassa fever.
Subsidiary Legislation Committee of Parliament agree that law students be made to write entrance exams as entry requirements.
And in business this evening, enforcement team of Ghana Revenue Authority conducts inspection to ensure compliance on affixing tax stamps on excise products.
Later in international news, South Africa's crime rate of 77% is much higher than global rate of 49%, according to Global Economic Crime and Fraud Survey.
We've got the details of these stories for you here on News 360. We're streaming all across the world on 3news.com, and you can also watch us on TV3 Ghana. Let's get started with our very first story this evening. The Inspector General of Police has announced 11 major changes in the security hierarchy following an escalation of crime in the country in recent times. The IGP has reassigned his Director of Operations, COP George Dampare, to head the Research Department. A statement issued by ACP David Eklu, the Director of Public Affairs, has announced the Eastern Region. According to the report, this indicates that the entire supply chain in South Africa is fraught with criminality. Reports by PricewaterhouseCoopers reveals this year has seen a 36% year-on-year increase, but that is likely due to a heightened awareness of these kinds of crimes. Africa as a whole painted a similarly dire picture, with more than half of the highest crime rate reports coming from the continent. Kenya followed South Africa with a reported rate of 75%. Russia has developed a new array of nuclear weapons that are invincible, according to President Vladimir Putin. Mr. Putin made the claims as he laid out his key policies for a fourth presidential term, ahead of an election he is expected to win in 17 days' time. The weapons he boasted of included a cruise missile that he said could reach anywhere in the world. He said the West needs to take account of this new reality and understand that it's not just bluff. Giving his annual State of the Nation speech, Mr. Putin used video presentations to show the development of 2 new nuclear delivery systems that he said could evade detection. About 700 churches.
Now, this month has been set aside as Ghana Month, a period to project and celebrate made-in-Ghana products. But how well has the message gone down with Ghanaians? Well, Usurai gauged the mood in town on the first day of the month. Right, we'll bring you this story much later in other bulletins. But, well, let's see, Media Powerhouse TV3 and all other media general platforms will lead efforts throughout the month of March to promote made-in-Ghana products and the Ghanaian culture. Group Head of Entertainment, Lifestyle and Events, Kenneth Addo, and Group Head of Corporate Affairs, Richard Ahinyable, were on New Day to outline plans to celebrate the Wear Ghana Month.
Have you, and I love the African wear.
Thank you.
So we're talking about Ghana Month. What does it mean for us as MG? What are we doing?
For us, Ghana Month means promoting our own. That we need to push the agenda of local content and promote local businesses. So this whole month of March, we are celebrating Ghana, another theme, Wear Ghana, Eat Ghana, Know Ghana, and Watch Ghana. So we're doing a lot of things under each of these separate themes just to project our country, project our food, project our fashion, like what we are all wearing today, to the rest of the world, because we do have absolutely some of the fantastic things.
We do. You've spoken a bit about it, but why then is Media General really involved in this? Because someone will say government is the one who declared it, let them handle it.
We've always been in the forefront of promoting local content. So if it's through the movies we show, music we play on our radio stations, it's predominantly been local. So we think it's a responsibility we have as the leading media organization to sort of lead this effort to promote Made in Ghana. So we are doing this because we believe in Ghana. We are doing this because we want to give local businesses the opportunity to project themselves. We want to project our food, our history, our culture, And there's no perfect month to do it than the month of the birth of this country.
So Ken, now let me come to you. What are we doing on our platform for viewers to catch and feel the Ghana we're talking about?
You said we are starting with the hashtag #WeCelebrateGH. And so it means that on social media, this is where the action is going to be mostly for the people out there. And so with Wear Ghana, we are saying that we are celebrating our made in Ghana productions in terms of clothes and accessories and everything. And so our designers out there, we're picking and selecting some of our designers out there to celebrate them and grow with them, so that, you know, it's not easy for people to start businesses like that. Now, you out there, the viewer out there, the listener out there, send your photos of you rocking any beautiful African wear, African print. Send to our social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, on 3FM, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and then Onya FM and Connect FM as well. And the more likes you get for your photos, the better your chances of winning, you know, something from us. And these designers that we are dealing with are going to provide these clothes for these people out there. So that is with Wear Ghana. And so every week we are selecting 10 winners. Now when we come to Watch Ghana, we are saying that, listen, we have a rich history of film, we have a rich history of documentaries and all of that. We're bringing a lot of local movies. We are throwing you back on Thursdays to show you some old movies that you have heard of but you might not have seen, and those of us who have seen, is like a refreshing moment for us that this is what we had in the past. So we're looking at that as well.
Well, celebrate Ghana. It's very important, isn't it, Issa?
Absolutely, it is. I mean, I can't imagine if the corporate world also decide to join us and we're made in Ghana throughout the month. More jobs for textile industry,
it certainly has a change.
More job creation, employment for people, and I'm sure I can't imagine how the industry will respond to it. Thank you for watching News 360, and we're more made in Ghana from tomorrow.
Certainly. You can also join us on social media. It's #CelebrateGH. You can post your photographs of yourself in your Ghana-made clothing. And I'm Natalie Ford. Thanks so much for watching. There's more news on our website, 3news.com.
I'm Issa Mon. Have a wonderful evening.